Don't talk to me about war. If the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations wanted wars to end, they'd care more about truth than they do their lies. You hear what I say? You will have wars and rumors of wars all the way to the end because of the corruptibility of human nature and the nature of evil itself. That's why I can tell you, if all the peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations didn't want war, truly, they'd seek the truth and love so that authentic justice and mercy could be done from humble and contrite hearts. But they don't do that now, do they? Why do you think that is? Well, it's because here in this world, most people love the darkness, and they love their evil deeds done in it. And they're unwilling to see the depths of their own depravity, self-deception, arrogance, pride, and corruption. And because of that, it continues the same cycle that has characterized all of human history since the beginning. And that is violence, suffering, destruction, chaos, division. Now, as long as that is the case, there will have to be those that restrain evil. And that takes a toll on everybody. Because when justice comes and the corruption metastasizes to a point where it cannot be abated by diplomacy, rationality, or humility, well, it creates the conditions for wars. As much as I hate that, that is the reality of that. So those of you that want to live in a fake peace, I want to tell you that all a false peace will ever bring you is a worse war. And those that desire a false peace also, by default, accept the consequences of the war that will come and bring suffering to them. I am not a warmonger. I despise war. The only thing I despise more than war is a false peace and being complicit with evil and wickedness. And whether anybody wants to realize it or not, everybody's in a war. And that war begins in their own hearts and minds. And until people are willing to fight that battle, well, there'll have to be those that have to go and fight the wars that are birthed from it. So I want you to consider that. Because as it is for people, so too it is for the nations. Want to see how well your government has taken care of its defense sector? Where am I at? You see that? This used to be the headquarters over here for McDonnell Douglas. You want to know how well Boeing is run, you ought to take a drive around their facilities. They're shitholes. You can tell a lot by a company by how well they actually keep up their property. And if I were to drive you around this place, you'd see what a shithole it is and how terrible the fucking security is. You know, when you wake up and realize that you're being lied to and you're being plundered, maybe you'll understand why it is that so many of us are pretty pissed off. Not only do you not know your history, but you've turned everything into a freaking Soviet-era ghetto. Do you know how much history happened here? There's not a facility or a building in this entire complex I can't easily penetrate or walk right into. And you want to talk about big budgets for the Pentagon? Do you really? What kind of fucking idiots do you have running everything? Huh? All it takes is a single drive-through to see how well you've taken care of what you were given charge over. And you can't produce a fucking airplane that actually functions properly? Are you kidding me? The hell's wrong with you idiots? How many trillions of dollars have you wasted? And to make matters worse, I mean, I could take you over here and show you all the people that got poisoned from all the crap you left out and polluted the entire area with, and now they're dying of brain cancer still. Why are you still in existence in Washington? Tell me, what benefit to the United States people, to our nation, are you anymore? Huh? Driving through the entire Boeing complex are billboards for smoking weed. Is that the kind of people you want actually working on your planes and building the parts and building your drones? You truly are a fucking idiocracy. All of Washington should be defunded. You want to defund something, defund your corrupt government. I'll tell you what I would do if I was your leader right now. I would lead every single one of you in Congress in chains, and you at the White House, and a good deal of you at the Pentagon in chains. And I'd put shackles on you and I'd make you work the line in one of these factories until the bones. I could see the bones in your hands from doing it. That's what you deserve. You corrupt whores. I could give innumerable evidence as to what your whoredom is now responsible for. Your incompetence, your corruption, and your wickedness. So I'm just here to tell you, you are over. You are done. You are going to be replaced. And you can either resign and go nice and neat into the darkness of your night, or you can do it the hard way and go out on fucking stretchers. You know where I'm at? Smart Field. A lot of World War II history here. Back when you actually cared about history in this country. And I'm sitting right here contemplating what this nation has become since. What's amazing to me is how many excuses that you manufacture here to continue to fuel your denial of the reality of what you've become as a nation and what you're doing to your own damn children here. You like to talk a lot about stuff in Washington. What you don't understand is that every time your empty words come out of your mouths, that it's exponentially increasing your consequences for a lack of action to actually do the right thing. You see, what you don't understand is the majority of this country hates you. They despise you. They don't believe in you. And even more than that, they want to see you fall. You know, you remind me of the steward of Gondor in The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Except instead of it being Denethor pretending to be a king there, you're a queen. A wicked one at that. Do you not comprehend what you're responsible for? Do you not comprehend it? You don't have a republic. What you have is a criminal operation run by a government that acts like a cartel. And what you don't understand is where that ends. And where that ends, well, the best way I can describe that to you is exactly what happened in that movie from the book to Denethor, who doused himself in oil and set himself on fire and then jumped off the cliff and killed himself. That's essentially what you're responsible for, having destroyed the country, and then you play games and then pretend your politics is going to bail your asses out. You are sadly mistaken, and you are in much error. You've come to the end of your crossroads. Now you're at your consequences. And as much as I love this country, I despise what you've become as a nation, and I despise your government and your leadership because of what they've done to the people here and what they've done to the entire nation. Now, if you want to play Whore of Babylon, you will burn with it, and it will be just in coming. Frankly, it's only by God's grace that you still exist now after what you've done here. So let me give you a word of advice. You need to ask the big questions in your life about what's real and what comes after this. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have a very short year. In fact, you're going to have an abrupt end to it. And not only that, you're going to find out what it looks like when not only you play a role in a movie where the person you're playing the role commits suicide, you're actually going to do it for real, because you're going to see absolutely everything you're responsible for. You're either going to clean this up or you're going to pay the consequences for it. Do you understand? And you can say all day long, well, you don't have any power. Who are you? That is very unwise. You're already on borrowed time, and that time is already all. You don't have any more time. It's by God's grace you still have a breath in your bodies after committing the wickedness and the evil that you've done in this country and what you've enabled. So I want you to understand, you need to ask the big questions. Because you can only mock God so long before you actually get destroyed for it. And you can say that that's not Christian to me, and you can say that I'm being a bad witness. Well, I'll tell you what, perverting the children in this country and allowing the drugs and everything else in this country, after many people in the government and outside the government have warned you for years what the consequences would be. Well, when your day comes, it will come suddenly, and it will be absolutely just incoming. That's something you need to learn to understand. You know, the world is not what most of us would like it to be. It is what it is. And you can stick your head in the sand all day long, but that won't change the fact that the world is what it is. Now, as long as the world is what it is, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that if you don't deal with yourselves and you don't come together to solve your problems, the next war that you have to fight at scale is probably going to defeat you. And then you're going to learn what real suffering is, because it's going to break you. And then you'll learn the hard way what most of the guys that have been to war have been trying to tell you. And that this place was designed to memorialize. Then you'll finally get it, if you're alive. You see, when you do the very things that create the conditions for war, you've done the very things that have debauched your nation and made it weak and made your enemies strong, and then made enemies out of the wrong people to create the conditions that worsen your predicament. One of the things I often get asked or told, we don't have any leaders. Really? You don't have any leaders? Why do you think that is? Don't you vote? Isn't that your responsibility to pick your leaders here? So if you don't have leaders, whose fault is that? I mean, after all, you don't have a Caesar, you don't have a king, right? So if it's your responsibility and you're supposed to be a government of, by, and for the people, why is it so many of you don't even know what the hell your government is, that you want to bitch that there's no leaders? You know? Having this form of government requires something of you. Having freedom and liberty requires something of you. And I'll tell you what it's going to require of you in this generation, and that is learning what the truth is and walking away from your lies before they devour you or ultimately destroy you. And that usually comes with war. And I'd like to see you avoid that fate, but there's a lot of humbling that's going to have to occur. And I'm not sure that you're prepared for that. So my guess is you'll probably continue to create the conditions for a worse war that you're going to have to fight. And your political correctness and all your games, well, it's going to get a lot of you killed. Everything has a cost here in this world, especially when you pursue things that aren't true, especially when you have no love of the truth, and you're complicit, you're complacent, and you don't care about anything but yourselves. That makes it more difficult on everybody else who's not like you. And it's why they lose patience with you and get very frustrated. So tell me, what does a leader look like? Do you know? Because from where I'm standing, there are a lot of people that have been leaders in this country. Why can't you figure that out? Are you still trying to figure out what sex you are? First generation in history, you can't figure that out. Doesn't surprise me you can't figure out what a real leader is. Unfortunately, that's probably going to cost you sooner than later. And I regret to tell you that. But you know, everybody that tells me there's no leaders, I ask them what leadership is. Some of them give me some great answers. But mostly what people want as leaders right now in this generation is a reflection of their own selfish wants. They don't understand what they need. And they can't discern the counterfeits from the real thing. And so they continue to worsen their predicament. Well, when you're in times of crisis and you've picked the wrong leadership, that's going to cost you greatly as well. So you need to start figuring out what real leaders are. what real leadership is. And maybe some of you will actually become that. Because, well, you're going to need all the leaders you can get here soon. You see, that's what happens when you deny the real thing for so long. You create the conditions. And I can tell you, those that aren't real leaders, well, they're going to fall pretty quickly, and it's going to be pretty obvious. In fact, it's already happening. So, if I was you, I'd take a little time to dig deep into things that are most important, including your own survivability, and ask the big questions in life, and then go figure out what a real leader is. What are you going to base it on? Because if you don't base it on truth, you're going to just pick more counterfeits now, aren't you?